She arrived at the county shelter like a ghost, barely registering as a living creature, not emaciated in the typical way of strays, nor overtly injured, but diminished somehow, as if retreating from the very space she occupied. She was a small spaniel mix, perhaps, with long, feathered ears that framed a face dominated by enormous, dark eyes. And it was these eyes that arrested anyone who paused long enough to truly look. They weren't just sad, the way many sheltered dogs' eyes are sad, reflecting confusion, loneliness, or fear. Her eyes held a depth of sorrow so profound, so vacant, it felt ancient, almost unbearable to witness. It was a look that didn't plead or question, but simply stated, "All hope is gone." They called her Esme, a name that felt soft and quiet, like her presence. She existed in the back corner of her kennel, often pressed so tightly against the concrete wall she seemed to be trying to merge with it. She didn't bark, didn't whine, didn't react to the cacophony around her. When potential adopters walked by, cooing at playful puppies or reaching out to friendly faces, Esme would remain utterly still, her gaze fixed on some invisible point far beyond the kennel bars. Most people's eyes slid right past her. She was too still, too quiet, too sad. That look in her eyes was unsettling. It hinted at something broken beyond repair. Volunteers tried. They spoke softly, offered treats, opened her kennel door, hoping she might venture out. She tolerated handling with a terrifying passivity, neither resisting nor responding, simply enduring it like a statue. There were no outward signs of abuse, no obvious scars, no broken bones healed wrong. Yet the trauma radiating from her was palpable, a heavy cloak of despair. What happened to her? New volunteers would inevitably ask, disturbed by her profound withdrawal. The seasoned staff would shake their heads. "We don't know for sure. Found wandering near an industrial park. No collar, no chip. Severely underweight when she came in, but physically mostly okay now." It's single quotes as ... internal. But the word whispered among the staff, based on subtle clues and experience with similar cases, was Mill. A puppy mill dog. One of the breeding mothers, perhaps discarded when she was no longer useful. It was just a guess, but it was the only thing that seemed to fit the depth of her shutdown. The utter lack of typical canine behavior, the haunting emptiness in those eyes. Weeks turned into a month. Esme remained unchanged, invisible. She was clean, fed, sheltered, but not living. She was on the shelter's periphery, quietly taking up space, her adoption prospects dwindling with each passing day. The sad reality of overcrowded shelters meant time was not infinite. Then came Amelia. Amelia wasn't looking for a project dog. She was recently retired, her house suddenly too quiet, and she envisioned pleasant walks with a cheerful companion, maybe a friendly golden retriever or a bouncy beagle. She walked the shelter aisles, her heart aching for all the hopeful faces. She almost walked past Esme's kennel, like so many others, but something made her pause. Maybe it was the sheer stillness of the small dog, an anomaly in the surrounding chaos. She stopped and looked, really looked, into those dark, vacant eyes. She didn't see aggression or illness. She saw ... a void, an abyss of sorrow that resonated with something deep inside her, a quiet echo of past griefs she herself had weathered. Most people were repelled by that look. Amelia felt an unexpected, unwelcome pull. "Who's this little one?" she asked. A passing volunteer, her voice soft. "That's Esme. She's very shy, been here a while." The volunteer's tone was tinged with pity and resignation. Amelia stood there for a long time, just watching. Esme didn't acknowledge her presence in any way. She didn't lift her head, didn't flicker an ear. She just continued her steadfast contemplation of nothingness. Amelia felt a pang, not just of pity, but of profound empathy. What could possibly happen to a creature to extinguish its light so completely? What secret did those sad eyes hold? Against all logic, against her initial plans for a cheerful, easy companion, Amelia found herself filling out adoption paperwork for the little ghost dog. "Are you sure, ma'am?" the adoption counselor asked gently. "She's going to need a lot of time, a lot of patience. We don't know her history, but she's deeply traumatized." "I know," Amelia said, surprising herself with her certainty. "I have time, and I have patience." Bringing Esme home was like bringing home a wild, terrified creature, albeit a completely passive one. Esme wouldn't walk on the leash. She collapsed, trembling, when Amelia tried to attach it. Amelia ended up carrying the small, unresisting bundle into the house. Once inside, Esme immediately sought the smallest, darkest space she could find, under a low armchair in the corner of the living room, and disappeared. Amelia set up food and water near the chair, placed a soft bed nearby, and then largely left her alone. She went about her quiet routine, reading, gardening, listening to soft music. She spoke occasionally, her voice calm and low, never directed at Esme, just filling the silence. "It's a lovely day outside, Esme," she might murmur, "or tea time for me." Days turned into weeks. Esme remained under the chair, emerging only under the cover of darkness, to eat and drink, leaving no trace of her passage. Amelia never forced interaction. She never pulled Esme out, never tried to pet her unless absolutely necessary. She understood that Esme's healing, if it were ever to happen, had to be entirely on Esme's terms, at Esme's pace. The first sign of change was almost imperceptible. One evening, while Amelia was reading quietly, she noticed Esme's head poking out slightly from under the chair, one dark eye fixed on her. When Amelia glanced over, the head immediately retracted. But it was something, a flicker of awareness. Slowly, painstakingly slowly, Esme began to observe. She'd watch Amelia move around the room, her gaze cautious, wary. She started emerging from under the chair during daylight hours, though she'd still bolt back at any sudden movement or noise. Then came the strange behaviors, the clues that hinted at the secret behind her sadness. Esme panicked near confined spaces that resembled cages. Even the open door of a closet could send her scrambling back to her safe spot. She was terrified of the sound of rattling metal, like keys, or even the clinking of Amelia's bracelet. She showed no interest in toys, no understanding of play. When Amelia's neighbor brought over his friendly Labrador, Esme didn't react with fear or aggression, but with complete shutdown, pressing herself flat to the floor, eyes squeezed shut as if waiting for an attack. Most telling, perhaps, was her reaction to affection. If Amelia's hand moved too quickly towards her, Esme wouldn't bite or run. She would flinch violently and often urinate submissively, her body rigid with anticipated pain. Haunted by these reactions, Amelia contacted the rescue group affiliated with the shelter, hoping for any scrap of information. She spoke to Maria, the experienced coordinator who sometimes got background on dogs surrendered from larger seizures or investigations. "Esme," Maria said, her voice softening with recognition. "The little spaniel mix with the incredibly sad eyes. We suspected, but we got confirmation later. She came from a large-scale puppy mill bust, about 50 miles from where she was found wandering. Apparently, she escaped during the chaos of the raid. Amelia listened, her blood running cold, as Maria gently filled in the likely blanks, the shocking reality behind Esme's vacant stare. Dogs like her, the breeding females, often live their entire lives in tiny, stacked wire cages. They rarely, if ever, leave them. Minimal human contact, and usually only rough handling for breeding purposes, often kept in darkness or dim light. Fed and watered just enough to survive and produce litters. They never learn to play, never feel grass under their feet, never know a kind touch. They watch other dogs suffer, get sick, die. They endure repeated pregnancies, their bodies used until they're depleted. The sounds she fears: rattling cage doors, metal bowls thrown down, the fear of touch, self-explanatory. The shutdown around other dogs. She likely associates them with competition for scarce resources or the trauma of forced breeding. The secret was out. It wasn't just sadness in Esme's eyes. It was the ghost of unimaginable, prolonged cruelty. It was the emptiness left by a life devoid of everything that makes a dog's life worth living. The shocking story wasn't a single event. Understanding the why changed everything for Amelia. Her patience now had context. She wasn't just dealing with a shy dog. She was helping a survivor of profound torture rebuild her entire understanding of the world. She adapted her approach, focusing on counter-conditioning and desensitization. She associated crate-like spaces with high-value treats, left open and never closed. She made sure metallic sounds were followed by something positive. She moved slowly, spoke softly, announced her approach. Touch was always offered, never forced, starting with gentle strokes on the back, while Esme was eating, gradually progressing over months. The healing process was agonizingly slow, measured in millimeters, not miles. There were setbacks. Days when Esme retreated back into her shell after being startled by a car backfiring or a dropped pan. But there were also victories, moments that made Amelia's heart ache with hope. The first time Esme took a treat directly from Amelia's fingers, her touch feather-light. The first time she didn't flinch when Amelia reached down to stroke her head. The first tentative, hesitant tail wag, just a slight quiver. When Amelia came home, the first time she voluntarily stepped out into the sunny garden, blinking in the light, sniffing the grass with bewildered curiosity. The first time, months later, she tentatively picked up a soft toy Amelia had left nearby, holding it awkwardly in her mouth for a moment before dropping it, unsure what to do next. Esme never became the boisterous, carefree companion Amelia initially envisioned. She remained a quiet, sensitive soul, forever marked by her past. Loud noises could still send her scurrying for safety, and she remained wary of strangers. The profound sadness in her eyes never entirely disappeared, but it softened. It was no longer a vacant abyss, but a deep pool reflecting her history, now overlaid with flickers of trust, contentment, and the quiet security of knowing she was finally safe, finally loved. Looking into Esme's eyes now, Amelia no longer saw just the secret of her horrific past. She saw the incredible resilience of a spirit that refused to be completely extinguished. She saw the quiet courage it took to trust again, to love again, after enduring the unimaginable. Esme's story was indeed shocking, a testament to the darkness humans are capable of. But her survival, her slow, patient journey back towards the light, guided by unwavering kindness, was the most impactful story of all. The secret was out, but the real miracle was the quiet, enduring strength hidden behind those sad, soulful eyes.